Alice in Borderland Season 3 was officially announced around a year after the second season dropped on Netflix, which was surprising given how Season 2's finale seemed to be the end of the show. Based on Haro Aso's manga of the same name, Alice in Borderland premiered on Netflix in December 2020. While Alice in Borderland received a short anime adaptation in 2014, the live-action series helped the franchise achieve new heights and became a streaming hit. Unlike other live-action adaptations of manga and anime, Alice in Borderland was successful among both fans of the manga and new viewers, starring Kento Yamazaki and Dao Tsuchiya as Arisu and Usagi, respectively. Alice in Borderland took the Battle Royale trope to the next level by placing its characters in an alternate version of Tokyo where they have to play deadly games to survive. Given that Squid Game premiered on Netflix a year later, comparisons between the Korean smash hit and the Japanese series were inevitable. While Alice in Borderland never became as big as Squid Game, the live-action adaptation was quite successful and received a second season in December 2022. Now, Alice in Borderland will surprisingly return for Season 3. Alice in Borderland Season 2's ending was the same as the manga. Alice in Borderland Season 2 appeared to be the end of the show. Arisu and the Queen of Hearts in Alice in Borderland Season 2 finale. The announcement that Alice in Borderland was going to get a Season 3 caught many off guard because Season 2 covered the rest of the manga in its entirety. Alice in Borderland Season 2's finale is based on the final chapters of the manga, with Arisu defeating the Queen of Hearts after almost being tricked by Myra. Once the Queen of Hearts is defeated, all the surviving players are given the chance to stay in the Borderland or return to their world. Arisu, Usagi, and most of the main characters declined the invitation to stay. This is when we find out that all of the Alice in Borderland characters were in a hospital fighting for their lives after a meteorite hit Tokyo. Those we saw in the Borderland, including Arisu, were going through a near-death experience that lasted 60 minutes in the real world. Almost everything that happened in Alice in Borderland Season 2's final episode also happened in the final chapter of the manga, which ends with Arisu and Usagi finding each other in the real world despite not having memories of their time in the Borderland. Alice in Borderland's Joker card cliffhanger teased Season 3 would happen. Alice in Borderland Season 2's Joker was an obvious sequel hook. Chishiya and Arisu looking at the Joker card in Alice in Borderland Season 2. While it took almost a year for Alice in Borderland Season 3 to be confirmed, the Netflix show had clearly left the door open for the story to continue. Unlike the manga, which has a very definite ending, Alice in Borderland Season 2 ended on a cliffhanger as the camera zoomed in on a Joker card. Considering that there was not a Joker game in the first 2 seasons, many assumed that this final shot was a sequel hook and that there was at least one more game left to be played. Interestingly, while there is a Joker in the Alice in Borderland manga, he is just the ferryman of the Borderland. In other words, Alice in Borderland Season 2's Joker tease is pointing at an original story and not something from the source material. It is also unclear what the Joker card means. Although some have theorized that Arisu is not in the real world after all and will have to beat the Joker game, others believe that Arisu will have to return to the Borderland for some reason. It's also unclear whether the Joker is the one behind the Borderland. Alice in Borderland's success on Netflix must have made Season 3 inevitable. Alice in Borderland Season 2 was massive for Netflix. The simplest explanation for why Alice in Borderland is getting a third season despite having already covered all of the source material is that the show was a huge success for Netflix. Alice in Borderland Season 2 premiered as #1 on Netflix's global charts for non-English TV shows, with 61.2 million viewing hours in the first weekend. The second season was #1 in 9 countries during the first weekend and appeared in the top 10 charts of 90 countries. This made it the most watched live-action Japanese series on Netflix.